When I found out my husband wasn't mine anymore, I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I just stood there, staring at the man I had loved for half my life, and realized I didn't recognize him anymore. It happened on a quiet Sunday evening. The house smelled of dinner, rice, lentils, and fried onions, the kind of smell that usually feels like home. But that night, something felt different. Cold. Empty. Even the ticking clock on the wall sounded louder than usual. I had just finished setting the table when his phone buzzed. He was in the shower. I never checked his phone before. In 20 years of marriage, I never felt the need. But that night, something inside me told me to look. Maybe it was instinct, maybe it was God, or maybe my heart already knew what my mind refused to see. I picked up the phone. A message flashed on the screen. "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was perfect." I remember feeling a sharp pain, not in my chest, but in my stomach, like I had swallowed fire. I froze. Then, slowly, I put the phone back down, wiped my hands on my apron, and sat at the table as if nothing had happened. That's how the night began. The night my marriage ended, and the night I began to find myself again. My name is Mira. I've been married to Raj for 20 years. We met when I was 23. Shy, quiet, still learning what love really meant. He was the kind of man who could light up a room with just his laughter. Everyone loved him. And I did too, more than I should have. We started with nothing, a small rented apartment, one old sofa, and dreams bigger than our walls. I worked at a school. He worked long hours at the office. We built our life piece by piece, a home, a family, and a routine that felt safe. I used to wait for him by the window each evening, watching for his scooter headlights. He'd smile, wave, and bring home small gifts, a rose, a pastry, sometimes just his stories. I thought that was love. As years passed, life became busy. Bills, responsibilities, silence. The little things faded. But I told myself, that's what marriage is. You stop expecting grand gestures and start finding comfort in the ordinary. We had one son, Arav. He grew up, went away for college, and suddenly, it was just the two of us again. The house grew quieter, and I started to notice the gaps, the distance between conversations, the way he avoided my eyes at dinner, the way his phone was always turned face down. I brushed it off, told myself I was overthinking. That's what loyal wives do, right? We trust, we believe, we forgive things that haven't even been confessed yet. But that Sunday evening, faith slipped through my fingers like sand. After I saw that message, I couldn't breathe. I sat at the table, my heart pounding like a drum. He came out of the shower humming a song, towel around his neck, as if nothing in the world had changed. He looked at me and smiled. "Smells good, Mira. What's for dinner?" I smiled back, the kind of smile that hurts. "Your favorite," I said softly. He sat, ate, talked about work, laughed, and I watched him, this man I thought I knew. Every word from him felt like a stranger's voice. My mind kept replaying that message. "Can't wait to see you again." Each syllable cut a little deeper. That night, after he fell asleep, I went to the balcony. The moon was out, pale and quiet, like me. I stood there for a long time, trying to gather courage to face the truth. Over the next few days, I noticed everything I used to ignore. The late-night calls, the way he suddenly cared about his shirts and cologne, how he started carrying his phone to the bathroom. I felt like a guest in my own home. Every sound, a notification ping, a whispered call, made my stomach twist. Still, I said nothing, because saying it aloud would make it real. One evening, I finally asked, "Raj, is there something you want to tell me?" He paused, looked up briefly, and said, "Mira, not again. You're imagining things." I nodded, but the truth doesn't go away when ignored. It waits. A week later, I saw them together, at a cafe near my son's college, a place we used to go when we were young. He didn't see me. She was younger, bright-eyed, laughing like love was new, and he looked happy, happier than he'd looked with me in years. I walked back home alone that day. No tears, just silence, the kind that feels heavier than grief. That night, when he returned home, I was sitting by the window with the phone in my hand. I had opened the chat, read every message, every plan, every lie. When he walked in, I didn't wait. I asked quietly, "How long?" He froze. "Mira, what are you talking about?" I looked straight into his eyes. "How long have you been with her?" There was a pause, that long, heavy kind of silence that tells you everything. Finally, he sighed and sat down. "It just happened," he said. "I didn't mean for it to." I laughed, not out of humor but disbelief. "It just happened? 20 years of marriage and you just fell into someone else's arms?" He rubbed his forehead. "You don't understand. I felt lonely. You changed, Mira. We both did. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I whispered, 'Yes, we changed. We grew older, quieter, but I never stopped being your wife.'" He said nothing, and in that silence I realized it was over long before that night. The next morning, I packed a small bag and left. Not because I hated him, but because I couldn't stay in a house built on lies. I stayed with my sister for a few weeks. People whispered, asked questions. I didn't explain. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. At night, I lay awake thinking of all the years I gave him, my youth, my trust, my laughter, and I realized something painful but freeing. I had loved him more than I loved myself, and that was my mistake. A month later, Raj came to see me. He looked tired, thinner, broken in a way I had never seen. "Mira," he said, "I made a mistake. Please come home." For a moment, I saw the man I once loved, the man who held my hand through storms. But then I remembered the woman who cried alone in silence, waiting for honesty that never came. I said softly, "Home isn't made of walls, Raj. It's made of truth, and ours is gone." He lowered his head. "I ended it with her," he said. "I just want us again." I took a deep breath. "I wish you'd thought of that before you ended us." He looked up, eyes wet. "Don't you love me anymore?" I smiled sadly. "I think I do, but not enough to lose myself again." He didn't argue. He nodded slowly as if he understood something too late. After he left, I felt an ache, but not emptiness. It was the ache of healing, of choosing peace over pain. I started small, morning walks, cooking for myself, talking to old friends, rediscovering Mira, the woman behind the wife. And one morning, while sipping tea near the window, I looked at the rising sun and whispered to myself, "I'm okay." It wasn't triumph. It wasn't revenge. It was acceptance, quiet, steady, honest. It's been 2 years since that day. Raj and I never got back together, but we speak sometimes, about our son, about life, about things that don't hurt anymore. He once said, "You were always stronger than me, Mira." And maybe he was right. I don't hate him. Hate is heavy. I let it go. Sometimes late at night I still think of the girl I was, the one who waited by the window for love that had already left. I wish I could tell her, "You'll survive this. You'll find yourself again." Because I did. I found peace not in revenge, not in anger, but in forgiveness. For him and for myself. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Love isn't about holding someone forever. It's about knowing when to let go and still keep your heart kind. The day I found out my husband wasn't mine anymore was the day I started to belong to myself again.